Continuing with verse 26. Now Gaal, son of Ebed, moved with his brothers into Shechem, and its citizens put their confidence in him. I guess they knew who he was. He must have had at least something of reputation in this area. After they had gone out into the fields and gathered the crops and trod in them, the grapes, and trod in them, so this would be the grape harvest, they held a festival in the temple of their God, not Jehovah God, but some other God. While they were eating and drinking, and obviously full of wine and high in spirits, they cursed Abimelech. Then Gaal, son of Ebed, said, "Who is Abimelech? And who is Shechem, that we should be subject to them? Isn't he Jerubbaal's son? And isn't Zebul his deputy? Serve the men of Hanor, Shechem's father. Why should we serve Abimelech? If only this people were under my command, then I would get rid of him. I would say to Abimelech, pull out your whole army." When Zebul, the governor of the city, heard what Gaal, son of Ebed, said, he was very angry. So Abimelech, I guess, was not in the city at this time. He may have had a capital somewhere else, I don't know. Under cover, he sent messengers to Abimelech, saying, "Gaal, son of Ebed, and his brothers have come to Shechem, and are stirring up the city against you." Now Abimelech already knows that Shechem is rising up against him, because we read about that in verse 25. We read about that when we talked about this plot to undermine Shechem's authority in the area, or Abimelech's authority in the area, by stationing these bandits to rob people as they're coming and going. And Abimelech knows about that. So he already knows that there's a plot to undermine him underfoot in this area. Now then, so this is the commander speaking through his messenger to Abimelech still. Now then, during the night you and your men should come and lie in wait in the fields. In the morning, at sunrise, advance against the city. When Gaal and his men come out against you, do whatever your hand finds to do. If your hand just happens to be carrying a spear and it plunges into Gaal's heart, just do it. Whatever your hand finds to do. So Abimelech and all his troops set out by night. I guess he considered this to be wise advice. He took it. And took up concealed positions near Shechem in 4 companies. Now Gaal, son of Ebed, had gone out and was standing at the entrance to the city gate, just as Abimelech and his soldiers came out from their hiding place. When Gaal saw them, he said to Zebul, "Look, people are coming down from the tops of the mountains." Zebul replied, "You mistake the shadows of the mountains for men." But Gaal spoke again, "Look, people are coming down from the center of the land, and a company is coming from the direction of the soothsayer's tree." It must have been some local landmark they knew about. Then Zebul said to him, "Where is your big talk now, you who said, 'Who is Abimelech that we should be subject to him?' Aren't these the men you ridiculed? Go out and fight them." Well, Gaal's made his bed. Now he's going to have to lie in it, huh? So Gaal went out in the sight of the citizens of Shechem and fought Abimelech. So he did. He did go out and fight him. Abimelech chased him, and many fell wounded in the flight, all the way to the entrance of the gate. Abimelech stayed in Arumah, and Zebul drove Gaal and his brothers out of Shechem. I don't know if they killed Gaal, but they drove him out of the area. Gaal, we don't hear about Gaal again, so he's out of the picture. He did not liberate Shechem from Abimelech, like he said he was going to do. So he was full of hot air. He was a braggart. He did go out and fight him, apparently. Apparently he did live up to his words enough that he went out and engaged them, but obviously they were outmatched, so they fled. Whether or not he got killed in the fight doesn't say, but we never hear about him again, so he didn't accomplish much of anything. The next day, the people of Shechem went out to the fields, and this was reported to Abimelech. So he took his men, divided them into 3 companies, and set an ambush in the field. So he wants to deal with this problem. These people of Shechem are clearly revolting against him. They've arranged this plot to have robbers and bandits attack people traveling around. Now they threw their lot in with some guy who tried to orchestrate an actual rebellion. So something's got to be done about these men of Shechem, huh? So he took his men, divided them into 3 companies, and set an ambush in the fields. When he saw the people coming out of the city, he rose to attack them. Abimelech and the companies with him rushed forward to a position at the entrance of the city gate. Then 2 companies rushed upon those, so they're going for the city gate, I guess either to get in the city or block people from the others from making it back to the city. Then 2 companies rushed upon those in the fields and struck them down. All that day, Abimelech pressed his attack against the city until he had captured it and killed its people. Then he destroyed the city and scattered salt over it. That is a symbolic act, meaning that he's purging the land of their existence. He's preventing it from ever being sown again. On hearing this, the citizens in the tower of Shechem went into the stronghold of the temple of El-Berith. Remember that? We mentioned the temple of Baal-Berith earlier. This is El-Berith. El is another word for God. So it's another pagan god's temple. It may be the exact same, the temple of Baal-Berith. There may be another temple to another god named El instead of Baal. El was just the word for God, so it could very well be that. When Abimelech heard that they had assembled there, he and all his men went up Mount Zammon. There's a lot of mountains in this area. Mount Gerizim, Mount Ebal, Mount Zammon. I think we even mentioned another mountain somewhere around here. Lots of mountains in this area. I don't live in a mountainous area. I live in Illinois. Illinois is as flat as any place on earth. I'm used to seeing miles and miles of just open, flat lands everywhere. Okay? I remember back when I was a kid, and we would often... My father came from Easton. My father was raised on a farm in Easton, Illinois, and he still had family out there. He moved this way to get a job when he grew up. And when I was young, we would frequently make trips out to Easton, Illinois, to either visit the cemeteries where his family were buried, or visit his remaining family members out there. And so it was about a 2.5 hour trip, each way. And so we had 2.5 hours of driving from where we are to Eastern Illinois. And there's a lot of flat land, okay? I am used to just miles and miles and miles of empty, flat land, of green grass, a green desert everywhere. Okay, I'm not used to a mountainous area where everywhere you look there's a mountain or a hill, or a large hill at least. I'm not used to that, okay? That's not the environment that I grew up in or am familiar with. But that's what they would have been familiar with. They had mountains everywhere. So he and all his men went up Mount Zammon. He took an axe and cut off some branches, which he lifted to his shoulders. He ordered the men with him, "Quick, do what you have seen me do." So all the men cut branches and followed Abimelech. They piled them against the stronghold and set it on fire over the people inside. So fire is literally coming out of Abimelech. That's what Jotham said would happen. Jotham said, "Let fire come out from Abimelech and consume you, citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo," and that is literally what's happening here. They set it on fire over the people inside. So all the people in the Tower of Shechem, about 1,000 men and women died. Also died. He already killed a number of them in battle earlier. And now the rest of them who were in the tower, the leading men, the leading people of the city, went into the tower and died by fire. Next, Abimelech went to Thebes, or Thebes. This is not, of course, the Egyptian Thebes. Thebes, I don't know how you pronounce it. And besieged and captured it. Inside, this must have been another rebellious city, another city in his territory that was rebelling against him, I guess. Inside the city, however, was a strong tower, to which all the men and women, all the people of the city fled. So they clearly knew that bad things were happening. They locked themselves in and climbed up on the tower roof. I think I've got a pretty good idea what Abimelech is going to do, don't you? Abimelech went to the tower and stormed it. But as he approached the entrance to the tower to set it on fire, he's going to try to do the exact same thing again here. A woman, don't get her name, just a woman, dropped an upper millstone on his head and cracked his skull. It was not, however, a directly killing blow. Hurriedly, he called to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and kill me, so that they can't say a woman killed him." Apparently, he was dying, and he knew he was going to die. It was not an instantly fatal blow. So he must have dodged somehow. He knew a woman had hit him with it. So he must have looked up and seen this woman leaning over the windowsill, throwing this rock at him or something. Somehow or another, he knew that a woman had dropped this rock on his head. And this clearly was, it was apparently enough that he was going to die and he knew it, that it was not an instantly fatal blow, so it could not have been a direct hit. Maybe he tried to dodge it and it got him kind of partially on the, I don't know exactly. But somehow or another, he had looked up enough to know that a woman had done it, and it didn't hit him directly enough to kill him instantly. But apparently it did do enough damage that he knew he was going to die from it. So he doesn't want to die at the hands of a woman, so he has his armor-bearer kill him instead. Because nothing would have been more shameful than to be killed by a woman. That's why it was such a big deal when Jael killed Sisera back in the days of Deborah in Judges chapter 4 and chapter 5. I mean, if you get killed by a woman, you are the lowest of the low. There is nothing more unimaginably shameful and humiliating than that. So his servant ran him through, and he died. When the Israelites saw that Abimelech was dead, they went home. That's it. Nothing to see here. We're done. Thus God repaid the wickedness that Abimelech had done to his father by murdering his 70 brothers. God also made the men of Shechem pay for all their wickedness, because they were complicit. They funded it. They gave him the money he used to hire the men who committed the murders. So they were completely, 100% complicit in it. The curse of Jotham, son of Zerubbabel, came on them. After the time of Abimelech, a man of Issachar, Tola, son of Puah, the son of Dodo, rose to save Israel. He lived in Shamir, in the hill country of Ephraim. He was an Issachar native, an Issachar tribe member, but he lived in Ephraim. He led Israel 23 years, then he died, and was buried in Shamir. Doesn't say how he saved Israel, or what from, he just did, somehow. He was followed by Jair of Gilead, who led Israel 22 years. He had, these apparently are happening in consecutive sequence, apparently. He was followed by Jair of Gilead, who led Israel 22 years. He had 30 sons who rode 30 donkeys. They controlled 30 towns in Gilead, which to this day are called Havoth Jair, which means the settlements of Jair. I guess because his name was Jair, huh? When Jair died, he was buried in Canaan. He led Israel, but I don't know if he saved it from anything. Tola saved Israel, but I'm not sure if he led anything. And at least in this English translation, the word for Tola is he saved Israel. He rose to save Israel. It does say he led Israel there in verse 2. So they were 2 judges. Doesn't say what, and doesn't say that Jair saved Israel from anything. He was just kind of there. He led Israel, but doesn't say he saved them from anything. It doesn't say what Tola saved them from. Again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Now, I don't know if this is happening after Jair or just in general. Again, they're doing evil. Apparently, Jair followed Tola, and Tola followed Abimelech. Because Tola, in chapter 10, verse 1, it says, after the time of Abimelech came Tola. And then in verse 3, it says, Tola was followed by Jair. So apparently that is consecutive. But I'm not sure if I'm not sure verse 6 is consecutive with that. That may just be, again, he's happening. Who knows? I really don't. Again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They served the Baals and the Ashtaroths, and the gods of Aram, the gods of Sidon, the gods of Moab, the gods of the Ammonites, and the gods of the Philistines. That's just about everything you can think of, huh? Those are the Canaanites, go the Baals and the Ashtaroths. Those are the people who are already in the land. And the gods of Aram, which are their north. The gods of Sidon were on the coast to the north, the northwest. The gods of Moab were the northeast. The gods of Ammon, which is in the southeast, or the east. And the gods of the Philistines to the southwest. So they have gods all around them. They've taken gods from everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere. Up, down, left, right, backwards, and forwards, inside and out. Thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly compromised by idol worship. Now they would not, and because the Israelites forsook the Lord and no longer served him, he became angry with them. Now they probably wouldn't agree with that. As I said earlier, the Israelites probably didn't see themselves as abandoning the Lord. Because they probably did keep following the Lord. They probably did keep following Jehovah. But they were also serving all these other gods. And if they have other gods in addition to Jehovah, they might as well not have Jehovah as God. That's the very first commandment, the very first thing he told them as part of their covenant relationship. I am the Lord your God, Exodus 20, verse 1. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me, or besides me, or in addition to me. So if you have any god in addition to God, you might as well not have God as your God, Jehovah God as your God. They probably thought they still had Jehovah as their God because they probably did not stop worshiping him. They probably did not cycle him out of their system of worship, but they included all these other things instead, in addition to God, and that is just as bad. It's the same thing as far as God's concerned, and as far as the prophets are concerned, as far as the men who actually wrote this down are concerned. Even if you're still technically following God and worshiping God, if you're doing it in addition to worshiping all the other gods, it's the same thing as not worshiping him at all. He sold them into the hands of the Philistines and the Ammonites, who that year shattered and crushed them. They're on opposite sides of Israel. The Philistines are down on the coast, on the southwestern coast, and the Ammonites are to the east. So they're being crushed now from both sides. For 18 years they oppressed all the Israelites on the east side of the Jordan in Gilead, the land of the Amorites. Now we have not yet had a lot of mention of this part of Israel. This is a territory that really wasn't originally a part of their assigned promised land inheritance. This is where the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh settled. And so far, they haven't really been too involved in the conflicts going on in the book of Judges. But this one's going to happen right here. The Ammonites also crossed the Jordan, so they not only have they conquered that area, but they crossed the Jordan to fight against Judah, Benjamin, and the house of Ephraim. So that's a lot. I mean, this is getting to be a pretty big deal. Most of the book of Judges is about these regional conflicts that are happening in certain spots of the land, but not others. And this one's getting to be pretty big. We're talking about all the eastern tribes, as well as Judah, Benjamin, and Ephraim on the west side of the Jordan. So that's getting to be a pretty good chunk of Israel. Then the Israelites cried out to the Lord, "We have sinned against you, forsaking our God and serving the Baals." The Lord replied, "When the Egyptians, the Amorites, the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Egyptians, the Amorites, the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Sidonians, the Amalekites, and the Maonites, or the Midianites, oppressed you, and you cried to me for help, did I not save you from their hands? But you have forsaken me and served other gods, so I will no longer save you. Go and cry out to the gods you have chosen. Let them save you when you are in trouble." But the Israelites said to the Lord, "We have sinned. Do with us whatever you think best, but please rescue us right now." Then they got rid of the foreign gods among them and served the Lord. And he could bear Israel's misery no longer. They tugged at his heartstrings. They're trying to manipulate God into saving them whenever they need it. And then whenever he does, they move on doing whatever it is they want to do. How many times have we done that? Again, let's not pick on these Israelites too much, because they're acting the exact same way that we always act. Yes, their behavior is bad. Yes, consistently they turn away from God and fall into idolatry. But they're doing the exact same thing that we do all the time. And if we had been in their shoes or sandals, if we had lived in their day and been in their roles in life, we almost certainly would behave exactly as they're behaving, because they're acting as humans act. They're behaving as humans behave. And God does eventually I don't know how long this takes. It says 18 years. I'm not sure if they appealed to him year after. I don't know. I really don't know how long it took. But eventually, he could bear Israel's misery no longer. When the Ammonites were called to arms and camped in Gilead, the Israelites assembled and camped at Mizpah. The leaders of the people of Gilead said to each other, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and stop there. So we're going to go ahead and stop in the line. He could bear Israel's misery no longer. We're going to stop there. The next judge is about to appear, and his name is Jephthah. We're going to be reading about him next.